So one of the things we've obviously seen, this decrease that's occurring now, and this is the vol M chart, right? One of the things that I think is really, really, really important for those of you who are gold and legendary members, this is one of the useful tools to use. So it's down in the auto commands area of the Discord. And why that's relevant here is that in the big picture of things, these print every 5 minutes. And so when you are looking down the screen, you can scroll down through and you can actually get a kind of a change of what's happening when it's happened, right? So back earlier we had at 10:26 we were both positive, and you can see that we had turned positive here. We had both the call centroid linfit line as well as the put centroid linfit line showing positive, and they were growing above zero. So that basically told us that these were positive and that they were moving up at a fairly good clip here, right? And as you scroll down every 5 minutes, you get to kind of see what's happening here. And so now they're both positive in the next 5-minute interval, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So why is any of this important? Well, if you're developing a thesis for going long, this is telling you really what the trend is. And this is the 0 DTE trend, right? This is the intraday volumetrics that we talk about. And why this is relevant is that when you look at these tables, you can start to see if bearishness is creeping in or if you're just going to be running towards the top, right? So we started to see a little bit of weakness develop in the calls, which is what this is right here. So the rate of change, the call rate of change is this column. This is the put rate of change over here. And what we effectively started to see was that we had a really, really strong move upward where we had call expansion in the morning and price was moving up and doing whatever it was doing. Kind of back and forth on the puts, but still the slope was very, very positive. Excuse me. And so what this was telling us was, okay, just be cautious, right? We're getting kind of maybe a topping formation in how the market. Now remember, this is all about volume, and the volumetrics are really where are the participants playing here. And you could see that we went from being fairly aligned where we were going to head for the day, now with a slight drop here and a slight move up here. And as we scroll on down, we still played with that as we went through time. Looks like we recovered and things are going up, and sure enough, we can look here and you can see positive slope on the linfit line for the puts and also positive slope for the calls. And so we're going into the close of the cash, the euro close, excuse me. Sorry, just had something pop up on another screen. And, effectively things are still looking pretty good, right? So we're at 11:26 right here. We're still positive, maybe a little bit of downtrend here, but still looking really, really solid, right? I wouldn't, don't pull out your magnifying glass here. This is telling us maybe things are slowing down on the put side, but the put side was really, really strong to begin with. So a little bit slowing in the activity of most likely closing puts is occurring here. And the rate of change, which is these lines, are really floating right around zero, right? So we're in good shape there. So as we scroll on down, everything still has a positive slope. You're developing a thesis that, things are looking good. Again, 5 minute over 5 minutes. And you can look at the endpoints here, right? 58.70, and then we go on down a little bit more, and 58.56. Okay, so what's happening here, right? So now we're starting to get this little turn of where we're getting a decrease in the puts. So the activity is now starting to pull a little bit underneath us, right? Remember, the puts are generally going to be out of the money puts. And you can see the calls, which is the green bars here, we're losing that positive slope. And sure enough, the eye is a great filter. We're losing the positive slope on the call linfit line, and we're slowly bringing down, and you can see the minus signs here. We're bringing down the puts, which means activity is now starting to occur below the line. Okay, so as we scroll through, if you have this up on a screen, right, and you can open up a web page browser and just log into Discord on your web page and just have this thing scroll, right? It'll just automatically update every 5 minutes. You can just keep abreast of what's happening. Well, sure enough, you know, we now have gone negative with the calls, and this was sitting right at 1216, right? So you had some indications that things were continuing to go lower, and now we're even below, you know, when this started tracking the morning numbers. And then as we come on down here, sure enough, we're clearly bringing down, both of these are headed to the low side. And the fact that the put centroids, the raw numbers, are connecting and are being below this really gives us an indication that things to the south are getting far more bearish. So we've had a sentiment change. Remember, these lines that we have here are the indications of if the market were to continue doing what they're doing, then we would end in this area. But if we start getting shifts, that's what the ROC helps us understand, right? And we can see from the tables that we had clear downward movement that was starting even back at a little after 11 o'clock. Now, you wouldn't know it with the first one. I get that, right? You wouldn't know it necessarily with the second one, especially with the call centroid going up. But as soon as both of these ROCs started turning red and these numbers start coming down, that's when you should pay attention, right? So sure enough, we scroll now to the most latest data here. We're still pulling things down. We've got this, which is clearly shown up. We just had a print update. This is what I mean. If you have this open on a web browser, this thing will automatically update for you, and you'll see what's going on. So let me just jump to present. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom here, and you can see now what's happened, right? So we've got the negative slope for the calls, and you can see the puts are actually headed for a negative slope too. And sure enough, if we look at this thing, we can see this is almost horizontal. So if this trend continues, this thing's coming down, and this is clearly coming down because we're pulling it down. This line is going to try to best fit the overall trend. So now we're starting to get that sentiment shift. This is a direct measurement of the sentiment shift. Volume directly reflects sentiment. So, you know, the purpose in coming on here, if you're not looking at these automated channels, I would strongly urge you to do so, because we do this for NetStat, right? So this morning, just as an example, you know, we had basically in the money calls driving the ship, and then for the second order Greeks, we had out of the money call speculation to the north. We just had the deltas on the right hand plane that were remaining dominant, and now we come all the way on down, and you can see we've shifted. And we've shifted now to in the money puts in the right hand plane exclusively, by the way. And now we've shifted over to out of the money for the second order Greeks, out of the money puts. So now they're dominant. When did this occur? Well, the nice thing is these are 5-minute charts, and so you can just scroll back through time and say, when did I get a change? And you can start seeing the change occurred right here. What time was that? This time, actually, this was the morning. Let's take a look here. So this is good here. So we opened up. I'm just doing this for the first time. I haven't looked at this. We opened up. Our first print pre-market was call dominated, and then we opened up with puts on the right-hand plane, and it looks like all morning we have been dominant in the money puts on the right-hand plane, which is a warning sign, right? So all morning, even though we had that rally up to yesterday's, here's one. So let's see, this was at, what time was this? This was at 11:52, just before 12 o'clock New York time. It looks like we were trying to break through just before the 12 o'clock hour. It looks like we didn't get there, and then we're back to puts. And sure enough, puts are just dominating the conversation. And sure enough, we are headed lower. And the numbers are clearly supporting that move lower, right? The strikes are moving down in time. So here we are. This is the most recent one. And Charm now for a second order Greek, charm is favoring just overhead, keeping us lower, right? And this is going to most likely grow throughout the afternoon. We're, as price moves down, we're capturing more and more gamma in the left-hand side, put-dominated gamma. So more negative deltas are being added at the gamma rate. So that's a big deal. And then here you can see we've got Vanna, which is somewhat balanced. But if we go over and take a look, and one of the things I like to do is just go look at the VIX. We've got volatility on the increase. So why that's important is that it's really hard for Vanna. Oops, let me grab the Discord again. It's really hard for Vanna to take a hold and do what we want to do. This actually, as price moves down, we're going to get more of a dispersive effect with more puts on the left-hand plane. And if we continue to close calls in the right-hand plane, this number is going to get smaller and smaller. Now, this won't be reflected in NetStat because NetStat is based on the morning numbers, but it is calculated in real time every 5 minutes, but it's based on that morning OI and the overall distribution because you don't know what's opening and closing from volume alone. And anybody who says they can do that accurately is lying to you. There's a lot of assumptions that's based in that. So we don't do it because we want to present just as much clear information as we can. And so basic morning OI here, and as price heads lower, what we're going to see is the Vanna function, as volatility goes up, actually expands. It gets wider and more dispersive. So the tails get fatter. And we're going to see more downside activity as we start pushing lower. So hopefully this helps. I really would urge those of you who, if you don't have access to the gold or legendary things, you might want to, kick the tires for a couple weeks just to see if this saves you some time and helps you with some of your interpretations. If not, you don't need it. I get it. I completely get it. I live in this area over here with the automated commands. I rarely run commands during the day, as you guys probably, you can check my name and in the Discord, and you can see I'm not running much during the day. It's because I rely exclusively on these, and then I go back and I look for trends. When did we get state changes? When did we start seeing things happen, et cetera, et cetera? And it's made a huge difference for me. But you guys do you, right? You figure out what works for you and pick the membership level that best subscribes for what you need. Thanks, everyone.